Hey everyone, it's time for another video, and I think today we're going to actually talk a little bit more about some Criterions. What?
Hey,
What are you doing in my backyard?
can I make a video?
No.
I need to borrow some Criterions. It's the Barnes & Noble sale, and I'm poor. I didn't save up.
Well, how'd you get it back? How'd you get back there?
I'm coming in.
Oh shoot! Oh God! Here, I'm sorry, folks. We'll just see. Oh God! How did he break into my house? I'm
making a video.
Should we turn this off?
Video. Okay.
Should we turn this off? You wear your sunglasses at night, Corey?
Yeah.
Corey Hart?
Yeah. God bless Corey Hart.
Dude,
No, don't. He's a bad guy.
Where have you been?
Dude, I've been watching films. I've been writing a film and editing videos that I never post.
So you're saying that you haven't been doing anything?
Correct.
Well, I was gonna make a Criterion video.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I was just walking over there and I saw that. Oh, the light was on. I just come on in.
Yeah, I saw me talking and stuff. And
Yeah.
so.
I was like,
I guess we should make a Criterion closet pick. We haven't made one in a while.
yeah, but we keep talking about him at work all the time. Don't act like we don't.
It's true.
We're nerds.
It's pretty much all we've been talking about, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, this is Chris here again with Hurtado Reviews. Just thanks for tuning into the channel today. Today for this video, I want to talk about my Criterion favorites that I've been seeing and talking about. With me, my guest today is Nathan Jones.
Hi, in my own house. We're gonna guest on the Hurtastic Reviews right now.
There we go.
Just kidding.
You know what we need?
What?
We need chairs to sit down.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll get those after we get their picks. So,
actually, let's not talk about Criterions. Let's talk about Arrow videos because there's an Arrow sale going on as well, and we all know Arrow. Criterion is the Arrow of. Arrows are better. Is all I'm saying.
well, if we're talking about like Cinema Paradiso, then yeah, of course.
That's Arrow Academy. I'm talking about Blood Rage. I'm talking about Society. God, that movie. And we're talking about I need one more. I'm on fire. Driller Killer, which if you want to check out that video, I'll put a link in the description down below. I go in and I talk about Abel Ferreira's really great B-movie horror classic.
Or maybe you can actually just catch up on the stuff. Because Joey and I just watched that. We're going to be putting that in a little podcast very soon. So anyway, let's just stop being the Hurtastic Reviews for a second, just 1 second, and let's get down to business. We're going to be doing a Criterion closet pick. It's been a long time.
Is that the Mulan reference? Let's get down to business because it just got announced as a live action.
Shoot. Is there like a trailer or something?
Yeah, there is.
All right, sir, who broke into my house? What do you want to get?
Well, during the sale, if I decide to push myself into getting it, I really want it. But I've seen it twice already, and I want to just keep talking about it some more. Charles Bond's Night of the Hunter.
Now that is a good movie. You can see the little window blinds behind me.
Yeah.
It's a good pick. Pull that out.
Oh, I get to take it home. Sweet.
You get to take it home. It's like a blockbuster. Well, anyway, that's been a good Hurtastic Reviews. I'm not jonesing around. We're done.
Yeah, this is gonna be my first pickup, though. Honestly, I can't wait to talk about this one.
I'm looking forward to talking about it again too.
All right, what are you getting, big boy?
Do you know how to work that?
It's an Android.
Yeah, Androids are better than iPhones.
Step down.
We'll see about that. Something I have recently saw that I would like to talk about is something that we both have seen. And this is actually a recent pickup of mine that I did in my last haul video, my Barnes & Noble 50% off sale.
Barnes & Noble, sucker.
And that's The Eyes Without a Face right
yes,
here.
That is an amazing movie.
Right here. So we'll talk about this movie because we both seen it.
Yeah.
So this will be good.
You don't like French films.
You like French films. I like Italian films, but I digress.
Either way, that's a great movie.
That's a great movie.
Oh, that's Game Busters.
All right, man. What are you going to get now?
Oh, wait, no, I didn't forget.
Didn't.
We're going to talk about My Dinner with Andre Gregory and Wallace Shaw. I've been wanting to make a video.
Who told you about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of forgot. But it was Nathan who told me about this. Actually gave this to me as a Christmas gift. And I watched it, and I loved it. I had to take 2 sittings to watch it, but I can't wait to talk about it. I really want to get my mind and my thoughts out on this one. Now, I haven't seen the other 2 yet.
Extremely compelling video.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're doing another one. I watched a movie last night. I know that our friend Daniel's seen this film, and I don't think any of us else has seen it. But it's a 1944 World War II movie. It's actually a horror film, and it's The Uninvited.
I love that movie.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's one of my first Criterions.
Yeah, it's one of the cheaper Criterions.
Right,
and it's definitely not one of the bigger Criterions or anything like that. It just feels like a classic kind of scare film.
Yes.
And honestly, this is... I'll talk more about it. But
I'm glad you're picking that, because that's an amazing movie.
I just watched this last night with my roomie.
Spooky.
So, yeah, it's very scary. We're talking about some scary movies here. All right, boy. Last one.
Oh, boy. I want to pull this guy out for a second.
Oh, my God. Get that.
Not
little,
that. This.
That. Oh.
Yeah, you see, he's hiding.
There's Bergie.
Yeah, there's a film in here I want to talk about, because I watched another Criterion last night with my girlfriend that I kind of noticed similarities with.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to think out loud in this video with this last movie. So it'll be a surprise since it's the big boy.
Oh, okay. We'll just pull it out later.
Yeah, we'll just have it staring at us. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Well, here at Groucho Marx, I don't really want to talk that much, but this is how I'm going to pick them. I'm going to pick my last one right here. We're going to go all the way over here, and I think what I want to do is something I've seen really... Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, boy.
I need to stop.
I think you insulted somebody.
I don't know. I've taken off both my glasses. All right, we're good.
Well, first, let's talk about this. Why is there a bunch of alcohol here?
I don't want to bring that up.
Uh-oh.
But I got the New World. A Terrence
Malick
Malick film. You know Terry, right?
Yeah, I own the Thin Red Line.
Yeah, you know Tree of Life, New World, Thin Red Line, Badlands, all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
so.
you picked that because of Colin Farrell.
All right, let's go sit down. Let's make this video, and hope everyone enjoys our little discussion and our little banter right here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, everybody. So, we're actually going to start this now. So, it's been what? How long has it been since a Criterion Closet pick? At least on my channel.
Well, we did a drive-by.
We did do a drive-by.
Like a film drive-by, not an actual drive-by.
No, we didn't hurt anybody.
Whoa!
I don't have any.
Oh, no, that is not true at all. That's not true.
We're not putting this in there.
Oh!
But anyway,
God damn it.
So we did a drive-by Criterion picks.
Yeah.
And we did that for a brief second because we didn't have much time.
It's a drive-by. Drive-through. I think it's a drive-through. I don't think it's a drive-by.
I don't remember.
They just call it a drive-through.
So let's just jump into this. What was your first pick again?
My pick was the Charles Laughton only film that he directed, Night of the Hunter, starring Robert Mitchum. You've seen this movie. I think everybody who's watching this.
Times,
yeah,
both of us.
I'm sure everyone who's watching has seen this movie. And I finally seen it I saw it for the first time about a month or so ago, and it knocked me out so much. And I saw it a second time, and I even loved it more than I thought I could before. I rated it on my Letterboxd.
A little lower than usual first time.
Yeah, was it 4 or 4.5 stars? I think
4 stars.
It's definitely a 5-star now.
Oh, it's a 5-star movie.
It's a 5-star for sure now. Like, it's definitively now a 5-star. I'm obsessed with this movie. It is incredibly well directed, and it's crazy that this is his first directorial film.
The only, too.
Yeah, and it's a really sad story about how, he quit after this film. But and it drives me nuts that this wasn't well received as well. Yeah,
I don't think I think it was way ahead of its time. It came out, what, 1955?
Yeah.
So
if you think about like the context of it, like in 1955 America, man, this movie, like, it really knocking down barriers in terms of, like, horror, and Gothic horror, really, too, and atmosphere.
Abuse of power, manipulation.
The South.
Yeah.
Religion. It's just really fascinating that all these things and themes go into this one movie, and it comes out as a perfect film. I really think this is a perfect movie.
Yeah, no, it's got that atmospheric dread to it. It's got incredible acting, especially by Robert Mitchum. Holy shit.
Yeah, terrifying.
Then you have really great child actors as well. Mm-hmm. You also have Shelley Winters. I think that's the mom in the film.
Yeah.
There's some twists and turns in this movie, too, that we don't really want to tell anyone if you haven't seen it.
Right. But I will say, there's one scene with the mother where it is like a living portrait. It is so well shot in like the stage production. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Insane. This one scene with her, you'll know It's just so hauntingly beautiful. It's just amazing. And this movie is just so amazing. And if you can watch this movie, if you haven't yet, please do. It's free on Amazon Prime.
And go watch it on a big screen if you can. I don't know. I know that I have a friend, Palmer, who's been on the channel. He has connections with a particular small little theater that I saw Andrei Rublev in, and he's been on the channel before. And I would love to see this movie in particular on that screen because this movie is, like, as Chris was saying, the production design and is just immaculate. And I think the shadow usage in this black and white film is, like, incredible. And I think that's pretty much what plays on this. It's almost like a nightmare. Like, the whole movie is a nightmare.
It is. And he's the boogeyman. And, you know, the thing about that is he's always pursuing you. And that's the scary thing. The scariest thing is that Robert Mitchum's character, is always pursuing these kids.
Yeah.
Even in distance.
Give you a little bit of a plot. Robert Mitchum was in jail with the kid's father, who was wrongly accused, or he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He robbed the bank.
He robbed the bank. Okay, he is the one who got caught.
Yeah.
And he hid some of the money in a doll that this little girl has, and so that's pretty much what he's after this entire time. And yeah, so you'll see that unfold. It's a very simple premise, but a very, very effective film.
Yeah, I definitely should stop talking about it some more. Just let people watch it. But man, this movie is amazing. So that's my first pickup. If I pick this movie up, I might just do a Hurtastic review as myself.
You should. That movie's really, really great. One last closing thought I have on it is, this movie, I think, really transcends a lot of boundaries, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning. And I think it is a little sad that Charles didn't make anything else, because Hollywood didn't really accept him
in his personal lifestyle, really.
And so, that's what's so sad about this. But Robert Mitchum, I mean, if you've seen Robert Mitchum in any other film he's been in, he's always really great.
Cape Fear, check that one out.
Yeah,
the original
Cape Fear, not the De Niro one.
It's not bad.
Not bad, but different types. All right, let's both talk about a French film. We're moving on to 1960, a little bit down the road, 5 years later, after Night of the Hunter. This is a really fantastic French film that I just picked up, and I finally watched it a couple nights ago too. This is a film by Georges Franju. We just looked up a thing that I'm going to cut out of of this little video, but this is a really fantastic film that's way ahead of its time as well.
Yes, and what I mean by that is I'm assuming like the makeup for it.
The makeup for it, and also just
the Gothic horror.
And the Gothic horror. And honestly, this is around the same time as The Innocents. Yep. That it came out in, and I feel like it really is more of an eerie type of film than it is like a natural scary film. It's a film that really kind of plays on what the motives of certain people are and what people will go to, the lengths that family will go to try to fix a scenario or a situation, and the horrors involved in all that.
Yeah. I will say with this movie, much like Night of the Hunter and a lot of similar movies, like we were talking about Ari Aster earlier, and the fear of like being told what's going on without even seeing it, first of all, is like super terrifying. And this movie really relishes in it. The whole scene of her without her, with a modified face on, and you don't know what's underneath there, but they just talk about how disgusting and how fearful she is and how ugly she sees herself as. It really, you're already afraid of her to begin with before you know about her.
The camera is really one of the best actors in this film.
Yes.
And it really definitely doesn't want to show you much, and it definitely leaves up to a lot of things up to the imagination. Now it definitely does show you some elements of this person eventually, but it's in a way that you still can't really tell everything.
Yeah, it's really much an applause to the time of like what they have.
Yeah,
available.
really good effects, and I thought this is a really great film and a great way to end a film too. Oh my goodness! But that's all we're going to say about that.
Right, but I was not expecting it to be a mystery film. I don't know if you kind of know. It was more of a mystery. And like a conspiracy than like an actual scaredy.
Yeah, I figure out like a whodunit kind of thing, like what's going on. Even though like us as the audience, we figured it out pretty early on.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting watching the characters trying to figure out what is actually happening and who's doing what. And there's different timeline jumps too, and there's just a lot of things going on in this film that came out in 1960.
Yeah, and I'm gonna shout out Daniel, because he talked about this with his podcast Cobwebs.
Yeah.
And he talked about, I think it was Curse of Frankenstein. I can't remember. I haven't seen
his
a lot
first
of horror
one.
films. Yeah, the first podcast. He talked about how they changed the perspective of this. His movie he was talking about, of the perspective was from the antagonist of the movie, Peter Cushing's character. Very similar to this movie.
Yeah.
Her father is the protagonist, the cover lady. Antagonist,
yeah.
and he's the one who we watch the most.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very interesting to see his choices, his personality, the way he acts with people. And we as the audience watching know when he's lying and how nervous he is and how well he's hiding things. And it's super scary, but it's also very fascinating to see from that lens.
And honestly, it's an interesting kind of observation, because it's kind of mirroring of who is the real monster.
Exactly.
Is it the person behind the mask, or is it the person trying to construct the mask?
Yeah.
So
I just keep thinking about the makeup effects and everything. It's just so incredible.
It's a good movie. So now we got 2 scary movies, and now let's get to an existential scary film.
Oh no!
No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna talk about all 3 right now. Actually,
I've only seen the first. Both have only seen the first.
We're gonna talk about My Dinner with Andrei Rublev.
Andre Gregory.
Andre Gregory.
My Dinner with Andre.
Yeah,
right?
But yeah, with Andre Gregory and Wallace Shaw. Wallace Shaw, you might remember. Sean? I'm an idiot, but you might recognize him from Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's Andrew Gregg. That's Wallace Shawn's most famous role, for sure. And he's in a lot of 80s and 90s films.
Yeah, and when I was watching this movie, Nathan told me that he thought I'd really like it because it talks about a lot of intellectual things, which makes me kind of an idiot because I was confused at times. But
hear me pushing my glasses.
Yeah, but the conversations at hand are things I think that will turn people away because they simply can't relate to them. I feel like once he hears some of these...
They're really extravagant, some of the things they're talking
and
about.
And that speaks to Andre Gregory as a person and as an actor, too, which I found fascinating. I didn't feel like I was watching a movie. I felt I was listening and watching 2 great actors on and off the screen have actual conversations that we as people could relate to and want to learn more about. And I never felt that in a movie before until I watched this. And it's just all in one sitting. The setting is on a dinner table. They're talking. Andre Gregory's talking the most, and Wallace Shawn is almost like our lens in our ears for what the conversation is. And
initially, how this movie starts is it's an old friend of Wallace Shawn's, and Andre is, and he is hasn't heard from him in years. He's finding work. Wallace Shawn's losing work, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And he hears up from Andre. He's like, "Hey, you want to have dinner with me?" He's like, "Why do I want to listen to this asshole? He's been doing stuff, and I haven't seen him in forever. It's I might as well indulge myself and go to a dinner with him and see what he's up to." I guess it reminded me a little bit of why am I blanking on Woody Allen-esque. Near the beginning, at least. Yeah. When he was very in his head. Curb Your Enthusiasm as well. Yep. A little bit Larry David-esque.
Takes place in New York, so.
Yeah, and so it's very much here's a guy going through the streets having a kind of crummy, nihilistic view of things. Yeah. And that's the big thing is the perspectives, too. I think Wallace Shawn has the nihilistic, negative aspects of life, whereas, Andre Gregory's had these positive experiences through his life, and he just wants to share it and, hey, life's good.
Yeah, and then at a certain point in the movie, they cross sections and meet in the middle. Because then Wallace Shawn is telling Andre Gregory the positives of the negatives that Andre Gregory's talking about. One scene in particular, or conversation, I just say, one conversation in particular is about, conformity and comfort and how that's horrible. From Andre Gregory's perspective, who's a man who's traveled the world. And Wallace Shawn's like, well, I like my electric blanket. I like being in New York with my girlfriend and eating crappy food. And Andre Gregory's telling him that's wrong. And as an audience, we kind of see both sides of that.
Yeah, we see both sides of that.
And it really is an existential crisis of what am I doing in my life? Am I really seeking my potential? But I also want to be comfortable. And it's so fascinating. And this movie really captures a lot of that, so thank you for that. This movie.
Yeah, for sure, man. Merry Christmas. All right, let's go back to horror. Just for a second.
Always on the horror guy.
Always on the horror. So I watched this last night, and that is The Uninvited. Lewis Allen's 1944, right in the midst of World War II. This is a British film.
Yep.
And it's very, it's a really great film that feels like a Hollywood classic, but it also feels like it's ahead of its time.
Oh, it is 100%.
And honestly, I would have said this about The Haunting, which came out in 1960. Which I think this is a precursor to. And Haunting is a really fantastic film too. If you haven't seen that one, definitely check that movie out. These movies, I know we've mentioned several times with Eyes Without a Face, Night of the Hunter, The Uninvited. These are, I mean, I guess when we say it's ahead of its time, I suppose what we mean is we aren't used to really great films that are really building on the anxieties of an audience.
Yeah.
And there are, I guess just in modern horror, there are some of that. Like the A24's kind of slow burn-esque films. But for the most part, like a lot of kind of the early 2000s, which is just like a lot of gore, a lot of very quick and action-oriented.
Which we're not saying is bad. We like the gore.
Yeah, we like that too. But, I feel like these films, were pushing the envelope to like what was acceptable too.
Yeah, exactly.
And like pushing against the societal norms of the time as well. So, like I said, this movie came out in the middle of World War II, or kind of near the end, 44. And so this film kind of just settles on a brother and a sister.
Which is kind of weird when you think about it.
It's a little interesting. They're buying this, they're trying to get this new house. They don't exactly know what they want. They saw an advertisement or saw it up on the hill, and they're like, hey, we can check that house up. And then like, oh, that looks great. They actually went in there because their dog chased a squirrel. Yeah,
which is a really funny opening to a horror movie.
Oh, it's definitely very funny, and the music is kind of silly because I mean it's definitely a classic Hollywood film.
Exactly.
So.
You think what's coming out in 44? I mean, Casablanca is around that time. And
then, a little bit earlier, but yeah.
And you get like Billy Wilder early films coming out too, and
you get some Hitchcock films and.
But that opening scene is always like fun because it's kind of like easing you in very quickly. Like, this could be a nice watch with the family.
It's gonna be okay.
And then it turns into such an atmospheric horror movie where that like there's really no physical embodiment of horror. It's the house that's just terrifying, and it's
the house. I mean, there's some ghosts in this movie, and then it's actually really really well done too.
Yeah. And again, same thing with Eyes Without a Face. It's what's being talked about outside the house that makes the house even more scary than
it's a mystery. You're trying to figure out like you're trying to figure out the history of the area, the people who may or may not have died in there, what romances there were, what tragedies there were. There's clearly something associated with that, and I feel like that's a big staple in this type of genre for sure. But I feel like each one of them is really interesting, at least to us. I think because that's what's so interesting about like why I like a ghost story. It's like places themselves and people and those spirits can haunt a specific item or a specific place, and I feel like that transcendence right there. I'm gonna go too deep in here.
You have a doctorate.
I have a doctorate. No, I don't have a doctorate. But anyway, the transcendence is kind of what makes it so enchanting.
Like, look at that image. And if I told you this is a 1944 film, would you believe it? Like, she's being, like, almost possessed.
Yeah.
But the thing that steals this movie, I thought, is the score. The score and the weather effects.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
The dim lighting. It just... And Ray Milland. I love Ray Milland. Like, The Major and the Minor is one film I think about when I think of Ray Milland, and this film as well. And obviously, one of my all-time favorite movies, The Lost Weekend, which came out in 45. Man, he's awesome in this movie. He's such a cool and fun and like heartfelt protagonist. Like he's just like he's not like this big buff guy. He's not like a macho. He's very much a normal guy.
Yeah, and one thing I will point out that I thought was a little weird, but I guess it might just be the time period. The leading female in this movie was 20 years old.
Wow, I didn't think that.
And he was 34, and they like kind of fell for each other in this movie.
Yeah.
I was like...
It's of its time.
It's of its time, I suppose. I mean, yeah, interesting aspect. Because she even said she was 20 in the movie. I'm like, I'm going to do some research and actually see how old she is. And she was literally, in fact, 20 years old when this movie came out.
Oh, man.
And then he's in his 30s, and so mid-30s. That's pretty much what he was. And I was like, okay. guess that's just what it is. Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of like the same thing with, like, high school movies. Like, they always have somebody who's...
the freshman.
Like, how old are you actually? The actors? Like,
yeah, oh, yeah.
Super bad.
Mm-hmm. Like, super bad, yeah.
Like, are you 30? You're 32 years old playing a high schooler.
Tom Holland, he's not as young as people think.
No.
Yeah.
So, it's just like that. But, anyway, back to the Uninvited.
It's a really good movie.
It's a really good movie.
I would put it up there with Vincent Price's Haunting on Hill House. Or is that the TV show I'm thinking of? Haunting on Haunted Hill. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you're thinking of that. You're thinking of the...
I haven't even seen that show.
The Netflix show is really good.
But where it's kind of like a haunted house, you know, and it's kind of mystery. Mm-hmm. And Vincent Price is awesome in that movie. And Ray Milland, you get a protagonist who's super cool in that too. So that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
And the supplements are actually really good on this movie too.
I haven't seen the supplements because I just watched the movie last night.
There's a vocal essay that's written on it, and like the time, and it talks about when the movie came out and of its time, and it's really fascinating.
And radio adaptations too. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, time to pull out the big boy.
Talk about all of them right now. All 39.
All 39 films of Bergman. You had one in particular we both talked about. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I had this this thought last night. Last night I watched for the first time Philadelphia Story with Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and Jimmy Stewart, and a really interesting story. It was a good movie, and I thought about another movie after I was done with it, and that was A Lesson in Love, Bergman's 1954 film that would come out before Smiles of a Summer Night, but deeply influence it only a year before. A Lesson in Love also stars, boy, I forgot his name already.
I'm looking up stuff right now.
He's the star of Smiles of a Summer Night, obviously, and he's... Just like Cary Grant's character in the Philadelphia Story, they are both divorced to this woman who's very strong, and she's very head first, and takes charge. And without saying it, at first, you already know the guys want to get back with the girl. But the girl...
now I'm remembering it.
Yeah, but the girl, with Katharine Hepburn's character, and similar to the lady in A Lesson in Love, they're already pursuing another man. They are going to get married, and the ex-husband is looking at a last chance effort without actually looking like they're pursuing this woman that they lost. And then along the way, there's another guy who's helping the ex, just like Jimmy Stewart is helping Cary Grant in Philadelphia Story, helping them with one sort of thing or another in exchange of services. And then they're starting to fall in love with the woman too. Just same thing as A Lesson in Love, where his best friend, who's supposed to be sabotaging her like honeymoon of sorts, ends up trying to fall in love with her. But that story arc kind of gets thrown out the wayside in A Lesson in Love more. But the whole concept of the ex-husband being super rude and obnoxious to the ex-wife while also secretly wanting to get back with her and having this outrageous plot to see it come into fruition at the final scene is so fascinating to me. And the fact that, I'm pretty sure the Philadelphia Story came out in 1950. I believe. Do you own it?
I don't have it over here.
He doesn't own it. I think it's a 1950 film, and The Lesson in Love is 1954. So I was really curious when I was thinking of that storyline, depending on the years of release, who came up with that idea first? It's a universally I think it's a really well thought idea, premise for a movie. So maybe it's not that uncommon, but
just looking at this, the Bergman book, it did mention The Awful Truth, an actual movie that Cary Grant was in too. It's a screwball comedy version of that, which is interesting too. Now that you say it's two Cary Grant films, I like the bookends of this movie. Yep. It's a comedy, so like the bookends are like the very beginning. It's like you have this gynecologist who is getting ousted from his lover, who wants to get back back with him.
Yep.
And then near the end of the film, you have Cupid tying the bow at the end.
Yep.
You have this actual kid who comes in and like shuts the door on this love.
Right. And all through the movie, he's in a train with her and he's with this other guy and they're like, hey, I'll bet you I can get a kiss by the end of an hour or so.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it's just so obnoxiously diabolical. And the guy's like, oh god, he's a horrible. He's kind of like a horrible guy, but like a cute, like in a cute, funny way. But I mean,
product of its time.
Yeah. But problematic, probably.
A little bit.
But they're both comedies. Like I think A Lesson in Love is also kind of considered a screwball comedy, just like Philadelphia Story was.
Yeah.
So those parallels I found very interesting, and I just wanted to get that thought out. I'm very interested to see if anybody's seen both of those movies and thought of them.
I'm looking forward to watching that movie and finally getting. I want to say.
You have His Girl Friday, which is another one that's.
Yes, I still don't have Philadelphia Story.
They say you should own both of those too, or one or the other.
And also, Awful Truth too. I need to get that one too. The one he looks like Abraham Lincoln.
Young Mr. Lincoln, John Ford.
Hey, Blinken.
Vampire Hunter.
Just quoting Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Uh-oh.
All right, last movie we're going to be talking about right now is a Terrence Malick film that came out in 2005, The New World. This is a movie that critics loved and hated, and audiences hated it because they were expecting a Pocahontas movie, and they got a visually stunning Terrence Malick film, which is exactly what we expect from Terrence Malick, right? So Terrence Malick has done a few things before this. He hadn't done much beforehand. He's done Badlands. He's done
Days of
Heaven, Thin Red Line, and I think this is the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't, and those are all decades apart, pretty much. It's really far apart.
Yeah, he was taking a lot of hiatuses.
Yeah, there was like 20-year period between Thin Red Line and Days of Heaven or something like that. So this is another one of his like kind of bigger productions. Thin Red Line was probably his biggest that most people know. Obviously, you as an audience member, you watch Criterion films, so you know that
this is homework, people.
Everyone knows this. But anyway, this movie is starring Colin Farrell, and I'm gonna butcher her name because I just really love her performance. Koryanka Kilcher. I know she's. I looked into her when she made this film. I think she was around 14 or 15 years old.
Wow.
And what that actually is historically kind of probably what happened with John Smith and Pocahontas. Is like that is how young the person was.
That's interesting.
But it's also like like we have to look at this historical context. So Terrence Malick did his homework clearly, but he like instead of making a straightforward narrative, he made a visual composition of different elements of the story, and I mean in a linear way, but like it definitely zigzags along its path. And this is a very visually stunning film, and it's got John Randolph, the second guy who comes in, Christian Bale, who tries to take on Pocahontas' love. You've seen Pocahontas 1 and 2, right?
Yeah. So John Rolfe.
John Rolfe, yes. John Rolfe, Christian Bale's character, he comes in near the very end of the film, not for very long, but it's definitely a love story between Colin Farrell, John Smith, and Pocahontas.
It's interesting.
But for the most part, it's just like it's showing you the visuals of the New England frontier, just the wilderness on that side of the world that looked immaculate. I want to say they filmed this in Canada, probably. Which makes sense because that is kind of near that area anyway.
There were Native Americans up there.
And so, anyway, this is a really fantastic film, visually stunning one. It's a really long film as well, but it's definitely worth every ounce you get from it.
Malick.
It's one of his better ones in my opinion. And yeah, as Chris was telling me earlier, I did pick this one because Colin Farrell.
Yeah,
I love that man, and he can do no wrong, even though he's been in some bad movies. To me, and he's had some bad performances. I'm looking at You True Detective season 2.
But I mean, he killed it in The Lobster, so.
Yeah, and in Bruges. Well, and I'm gonna write a petition to J.K. Rowling to get him back where Johnny Depp is at, because I'd rather have Colin Farrell than Johnny Depp. Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. But anyway,
one thing I haven't watched a Terrence Malick film. I've done a lot of research because The Thin Red Line is another 3-hour, almost 3.5-hour movie, and I haven't seen The Tree of Life, but I've read a lot about it because it's a very
gorgeous.
It's a very critically acclaimed film. And it sounds like what he loves to do with his films is not only tell a story through dialogue with characters and character interactions, but he allows
barely any dialogue, but
he allows like the setting and like the mental and almost like emotional parts of the character speak for themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of nonverbals in most of the films. I've seen a lot of his films. I haven't seen Days of Heaven or Badlands, but I've seen most of his stuff in between that. But I haven't seen his newest outputs, the ones where he's been putting stuff every couple years, like Song to Song, which are apparently not the greatest films that he's done because, for one reason or another, I couldn't tell you all of that information. But
yeah, and I think that's really fascinating, and the fact that he did an interpretation of like pre-colonial America,
right at colonial kind of.
Yeah.
But pre-colonies for sure. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm like really interested in that. I've heard of it. I've seen like the standard Blu-ray.
Yeah. This is worth it, and it's got a really cool package too. I really like it. It's just it's really cool. Just kind of see that right there is just a little watercolor of an actual scene from the film. I mean, this is the one with different cuts, theatrical and extended. I watched the extended edition. Generally, that's probably a good conversation to have too.
Extended versus theatrical.
I know we had that discussion not too long ago, but yeah, just a lot of really great things about this film.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, Native American films aren't like in plethora, but they're very well made for the for the small amount there are. They're always fascinating to watch. I always think like Apocalyptico.
Apocalyptica.
The Mel Gibson film. That's out of print.
I have it.
Yeah.
Apocalypto is what he's talking about.
Yeah, like that's a Native American story. That's very interesting, and it's very well made. I'm curious to check this one out.
But yeah, that concludes another Criterion closet pick. I think one of the first ones of 2019.
Yeah, it was a deep closet pick.
It's a deep one too. So thank you so much for breaking into my house.
No, yeah, I'll do it again.
Yeah, I know, especially when I leave to China.
Oh, yeah, I'm a safekeeper.
Yeah.
I'll be in here just studying film.
Probably. But thank you so much for watching this video. Comment down below what you think of our mishaps, because we probably made a couple. So just tell us how we're wrong and what we can improve on right now.
Critique, don't criticize.
Critique, yeah.
Only criticize me, because I can handle it. I'm just kidding.
I can't handle that stuff.
Yeah, and also don't forget to check out my channel.
Check out his channel.
Yeah, go ahead. We got some stuff I've talked about here that's like a little more deep cut, but check out my stuff because I have some videos with this guy. When we talk about Daniel's podcast of Cobwebs, make sure to check it. Make sure to check your ears on that. Yeah. So that's a good podcast about Gothic horror. Are we missing anybody else? Film Stocked. Check out Film Stocked.
Yeah, check out Film Stocked.
But check us out first.
Yeah.
He's gonna hate it.
I've already shouted out many people in the last video I made, but we'll do that too. So yeah, check out all those things and leave us some comments down below, and we'll see you next time. We're not
Jones tasting around.
Oh shoot, that's good.
Woo! And then you're like, no.